Hello, everybody. This is Jason Jasper with Team 6, along with Tyler Nemo, Patricia Payton, Daniel Doty, and Jawir Wang. And this week for our case lead, we're covering IT governance at Toyota and also the MyJohnDeere platform for Chapter 9. So, a little bit of history about Toyota. The original incarnation of Toyota was founded in 1924 by Sakichi Toyota. They mainly specialize more in motorized looms. His son, Kiichiro, wanted to use their expertise in making engines and to start a automobile manufacturing company. So that company was founded August 28, 1937, and they slowly grew. But during the Korean War, the Americans, actually the U.S. Army, tapped in to their manufacturing capability to create military vehicles for the United States Army during the Korean War. So that's interesting. In the 1960s, Toyota quickly grew, and around that time, they created the most successful vehicle of all time, the Toyota Corolla. And in the 1970s, they gained a huge market share in the United States due to the oil and energy crises that were happening at the time. And during that time, they were subjected to tariffs. So they started skirting this by actually opening up plants in the United States. Some facts about Toyota. They produce over 70 vehicle models, not including the luxury brands or their commercial vehicles. They've had a revenue growth of 7.7 million yen from 1937 to 27.2 trillion yen as of last year, which is roughly $240 billion. They are also regarded as the de facto inventors of lean manufacturing, as well as Kaizen and Kanban methods of manufacturing, which you may have studied in other business courses, and the Genshi Genbutsu system of managers really visiting plants to really see what's going on and try to improve issues that are happening rather than depend on their subordinates to report to them. And then Toyota Systems was established in 2019 as a subsidiary of Toyota, and they provide IT system solutions. The transformation of IT in Toyota enabled their IT to become a business partner and consultant within the company, not just order takers. And also, interestingly enough, they have their own top-level domain, .toyota. So the questions we'll be going over describe the advantages and disadvantages of TMS's move to a hybrid and decentralized IS structure. How did the new structure change decision rights? How did it change accountability for IT project success? Why, in your opinion, would business executives shy away from the new approval process? And in our opinion, will Coopers demand that each project be backed by an executive solve that problem? And we'll explain that. Which leadership competency is most valuable to have in order to take on this level of transformation change? So describing the advantages and disadvantages of TMS's move to a hybrid decentralized IS structure, Toyota was determined to maintain just a single mainframe type setup, a very centralized IT architecture. They were doing this even though the basic needs of IT, such as security, customer relationship management, financial project management, these were all absent at the time. And as recent as 1996, I would say Toyota was at a level 1 maturity for IT. Business units were also left to kind of fend on their own. They had to purchase and implement their own IT needs, which created IT anarchy. Barbara Cooper was hired in 1996 to kind of affect change and solve some of these issues in Toyota's infrastructure and methods. And when she came in, she was kind of surprised that they were kind of stuck in this 1970s mode of IT. Through change, they created a matrixed IT organization with a divisional information officer in each division who was responsible for representing the IT needs of that division. And now they're currently, I would say, level 3 maturity. Some advantages: this allowed IT to become a business partner, not just an order taker. And having an IT as a business partner meant creating more trust and understanding of total company strategy. They created an executive steering committee to prioritize projects. And then cost control measures brought about higher efficiency. The hybrid model provides agility while maintaining some control at the higher levels of the organization. And it paved the way for Toyota to partner with other companies in developing autonomous driving vehicles, among other IT services that they provide. There's not a whole lot of disadvantages that I can see. Some loss of control by executives. Projects that left money on the table could have their funding withdrawn and put back into the IT project funding pool. Depending on how you look at it, that could be a disadvantage or an advantage. That could definitely hinder some projects if it moves slower than they anticipated. And now, how did the new decentralized structure change decision rights, and how did it change accountability for IT project success? Again, like I said, initially business units had to acquire their own technology needs, and IT was almost a standalone department. So decision rights were moved from business units and centralized IT to an executive steering committee that prioritized and selected IT projects for funding. And the repooling of IT project funds that were stalled meant that project managers really had to keep on top of their projects and make sure they were being completed within a reasonable amount of time. They could never hold funds hostage. So that maintained accountability to ensure they were being completed. And increased visibility into the IT architecture meant that finger pointing for stalled or failing projects was a little less feasible, as it was more of a team-wide or a company-wide effort to get these projects completed on time. And now Daniel is going to talk about the next few questions, and I'll give it up to you, Daniel. Thank you.
Why, in your opinion, would business executives shy away from the new approval process? After elimination of the IBM mainframe computer, the new process brought greater accountability. Project focus was placed on executive divisional information officers in charge. There was no way remaining to blame the mainframe computer programming or other pooled executives for stalled projects. Responsibility was transferred directly from the steering committee to the DIOs appointed. In your opinion, will Barbara Cooper's demand that each project be backed by an executive solve the problem? Let's explain. Briefly, if a project was found not to be making progress toward completion, funding could be removed by the executive steering committee, ensuring the funds would not be stalled in an unproductive project. As an accountable individual, the executive in charge would not wish to be associated with a perceived failure, therefore would invest substantial effort to ensure completion and success of the IT project. Which leadership competency is the most valuable to have in order to take on this level of transformational change? IT governance is the most valuable competency. Executive administration is tasked with IT governance. And within the parameters that IT governance aligns with project leadership, provides a structure to make good decisions, ensures effective prioritization of initiatives and projects, and finally, ensures regulatory compliance for enterprise infrastructure projects.
Thank you, Daniel. Next, I'm going to give an overview of the MyJohnDeere case and answer the first question. So this case talks about how John Deere created a platform called MyJohnDeere. The purpose of this platform is to open access of their system to farmers, ranchers, landowners, banks, and government workers. It allows them to upload and share their data to anyone in their network from any internet-enabled device. This platform works by integrating IoT technology with social, mobile, analytic, and cloud technology. Some parts of the platform are even created by third-party platform developers. By using this platform, it helps its users to improve profitability by allowing them to integrate information about equipment, production data, and farm operations. It can also be used with analytics software to more efficiently manage fleets and operations. The case also talks about how one farmer used the system to upload data about planting, spraying, fertilizing, and harvesting his crops. Later, he used that information to diagnose problems about the equipment, to make decisions about his use of land and personnel, and he sent it to consultants for recommendations. So the first question is, what governance approach did John Deere appear to have adopted, and did it fit the profile of an old, heavy industry player? So John Deere adopted a platform-based governance approach. According to our textbook, platform-based governance means that members of the ecosystem contribute their strengths, giving the whole ecosystem a complete set of capabilities that can impact decision-making and operations. It recognizes the power of combining complementary technologies on digital platforms in ways that are not predicted or controlled by the organization. With this approach, platform sponsors aim to make the platform as flexible as possible by embracing reusable and malleable code, multi-layered architecture, loosely defined boundaries, and generativity. Generativity is the ability of any self-contained system to create, generate, or produce new output, structure, or behavior without any input from the originator of the system. The MyJohnDeere platform fits this approach because the customer is in control of the data, and they can upload and share that data with dealers, crop consultants, or anyone in their network of trusted advisors from any internet device, meaning there is open access. The platform also integrates IoT with social, mobile, analytics, and cloud technology, which encourages development of new applications over time. Some applications are being created by third-party developers, which provides reusable components that evolve over time. And I would say that this governance style does not fit with the old heavy industry players because it's a relatively new approach. So now I'm going to pass it off to Jawir, who's going to answer the next 3 questions. Thank you.
And next, I'll talk about the second questions, which is what difficulties do you think an old heavy industry player such as John Deere encountered internally when proposing to develop the MyJohnDeere platform? So first, from the employee's perspective, because the employees already get used to the old process, they need to adopt a new platform. They need to change their habits, so they might gonna have the resistance to change. And second, from the employer's perspective, since the new platform is used among the companies and some external users such as farmers, ranchers, landowners, banks, and the government workers, so it's hard to keep the consistency of performance of the new platform. And also, since it's the heavy industry, they need to monitor the large equipments, so it would be difficult to monitor those equipments because the large or heavy equipments are complex. So there's going to be a challenge of monitor those equipments. And third, since it's a new platform, it's might have some mistakes at the beginning. So the company need to have spend more time and money to make corrections to the new platforms, and thus may cost their more money. And from the stakeholders' perspective, since like I mentioned before, it's a new platform, they need to have extra cost for training its employees to make sure all the employees know how to use the platform. And also, since the new platform is just put in actions, there is a risk of failures. So maybe the company can spend money and energy and time, but they cannot succeed at finally. And the next question is, what difficulties do you believe John Deere faced externally among the proposed users? So the first problem and the most important problem is about the confidential problem. Since all the users gonna share their business information within the platforms, they want to make sure their business secrets are safe within the system. So they care about the confidential problem of the new platforms. And second, because this is the MyJohnDeere platform gonna need to accommodate all users, like the farmers, the bankers, the governments. The different users have different requirements, and thus the platform need to have different functions to accommodate all the users. And based on that, because different users are going to use different functions, they will see the system as different values. So what's the price they want to pay to use this platform is another questions. And lastly, another difficulty is the sustainability of the platform, because only the stable platform can keep all the users uses all the time. So it needs to maintain the consistency among all the different users, because they're gonna share their informations on the platform. And also with the development of the industry, the platform might need to have new functions to keep all the users with the trend of the industry and to make them feel it's convenient for them to use the new platform. And the fourth question is about what the John Deere might have overcome those internal and external difficulties that we mentioned before. So for the internal part, John Deere need to make appropriate communications with both its employees and stakeholders, because they want to resolve their concerns about using the new platform. And also, if John Deere can provide a powerful assessment of the return on investment, they might convince the stakeholders to adopt the new platform, because the platform can actually bring profit for them. And also, the John Deere need to have proper trainings among its employees, because it's basically the employees who are using the new platforms. So they need to know how to use it and how to use it properly to ensure their efficiency of working. And for the external perspective, first, we think John Deere should try out this new platform with its loyal customers, because loyal customers will give the feedback or the compliment, the complaint about the new platforms, but they will not leave the company. So they have more chance to make proper changes. And also, John Deere should conduct product assessment of the requirements that the users need. Because as I mentioned before, the users might need new functions, or they might have to make some corrections of the existing functions to make sure the platform are actually helping them perform better. And lastly, John Deere should conduct surveys among users about the satisfaction. And based on those feedback, it should make proper changes for the new platform to make sure the platform is working well and can is suitable for all the users.
So next we are going to discuss some advantages and disadvantages of having third-party developers develop applications for the John Deere platform. So some advantages of third-party developers could be the possibility of bringing in outside perspectives, the possibility of utilizing more experienced developers outside of the company, and also utilizing potentially already built platforms or structures of a platform that the third party has already created versus just starting from scratch. Some disadvantages of third party developers could be less control over decision making, since the decision making might spill out into the third party. And also, the use of third parties could cause a loss of the overall vision of the application, since a third party is handling the application and not John Deere. Next, we're going to discuss how other parties might be interested in obtaining the information in the John Deere cloud. Advertising companies are always interested in data. We always see targeted advertising, especially based off of search trends and usage of apps. So that's definitely something that could be used with the John Deere cloud. Equipment dealers could utilize the John Deere cloud from the generated data, for targeting deals or service discounts based off of the user's trends or equipment diagnostic data that could automatically be sent from equipment. And also government entities, monitoring crop production to understand maybe production impacts, supply chain impacts, also environmental impacts, something that could be of use for the Department of Agriculture or any of those similar government entities. And that concludes our presentation. So if you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the discussion below and we will answer them for you guys. Thank you.